Hello and welcome to my channel, Genealogy Central. Today we'll be looking at the family tree of George Washington. We'll look at relatives alive today, the history of his last name, and his connection to royalty. Okay, let's get started. George Washington was the first president of the United States of America. He was born in 1732 in British America. He became president in 1789 and he was president for 8 years until 1797. He then died 2 years later. George Washington married Martha Dandridge in 1759. They didn't have any children together. However, Martha did have 2 children from a previous marriage. They were John Curtis and Martha Curtis. However, because they don't have the Washington last name, we won't look at their side of the family tree. So this means we must look at George Washington's siblings to find a relative with his last name. George Washington had 5 siblings called Elizabeth, Samuel, John, Charles and Mildred. Elizabeth had children, but because she is a woman, her children didn't have the last name Washington. Her younger brother Samuel had 8 children called Thornton, Tristan, an unnamed son, Ferdinand, George, Lawrence, Harriet and John. Some of Samuel's children did have children of their own, but all of them but one died out, which meant their children no longer had the last name of Washington. Lawrence, Samuel's 5th son, is the line where the Washington name lives on. Lawrence had a son called Lawrence in 1814. He had a son called James in 1847. Who had a son named George in 1892. George had a son named Paul. Paul died in 2014 and had 4 children, all of which are alive today. They are Caroline, Julianne, Richard and Jack. Now we have gone down the family tree, we will go up the family tree. George Washington was the son of Augustine Washington and Mary Ball. Mary Ball died just 4 months after he took office. Augustine was the son of Florence Washington and Mildred Warner. Firstly, we'll look at the origins of the Washington last name, and then how he is a descendant of Edward III. Lawrence Washington was sent to England, where he studied to be a lawyer. He was the son of John Washington. He was the last of Washington ancestors to be born in England. John was the son of someone called Lawrence Washington, who was born in 1602. He was also the son of someone called Lawrence. Lawrence was the son of Robert Washington, who was born in 1544. Robert was the son of yet another Lawrence Washington. Lawrence's father was John Washington, who was born in 1470. John's father and grandfather were both called Robert. His grandfather, Robert, was the son of someone called John D. Washington, whose father was also called John D. Washington, who was born in 1330. These people have no creativity with names. John D. Washington's father was Robert D. Washington, born in 1296. Robert's father was also called Robert. He was the son of William D. Washington. William's father was Walter D. Washington. Walter's father was William D. Washington. He was the earliest of George Washington ancestors to have the last name Washington. He was also the 5 times great-grandson of Ethelred the Unready. Now let's look at how he is a descendant of Edward III. Edward III was the earliest of his ancestors to be King of England. As I already said, George Washington was the son of Augustine Washington, who was the son of Lawrence Washington. Lawrence Washington's wife was Mildred Warner. She was the son of Augustine Warner and Mildred Reed. Mildred Reed was the son of George Reed. George was the son of Robert Reed and Mildred Windbank. Mildred's father was Thomas Windbank. Her mother was Frances de Moke, who was born in 1545. Her mother was Anne Talboys. She was the daughter of Elizabeth Gascoigne. Her father was William Gascoigne and her mother was Margaret Percy. Margaret Percy was the daughter of Henry Percy, who was the son of Eleanor Neville. Eleanor's mother was Joan Beaufort, who was the daughter of John of Gaunt. John was an ancestor of Henry VII. He was also the son of Edward III. This wraps up our video. This video's question is, who was president after George Washington? Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching and goodbye.